What's the most hurtful thing someone has ever said to you? When I was young, my mom said holidays are better without me. You're ugly and underdeveloped. I was 10 years old and to this day it still gets to me. You'll never be loved or cherished because you look like me. You will never belong anywhere. No one cares about you enough to actually be there for you. You will be a burden to everyone else. From dad to 11-year-old me after we argued about how he missed my birthday again. But looking back, I laugh because it seemed like he was projecting his own insecurities onto me. Lol. No one will ever love you. That's the closest I ever got to actually killing myself because I truly believed these words. Which profession has the most effed up people in it? People that work in car dealerships. As a CPS worker, the investigation supervisors were all having affairs and one strangled the new hire in the office. Our judge got a DUI. Even HR was sleeping with the office manager. The car business is full of degenerates. People I have met who are life coaches seem to be the most wackadoodle people ever. Prison guards. What is the worst reason to tell someone when you break up with them? You were just a bridge between relationships. I didn't want to be alone. I only wanted to know what it's like to be with someone I would never want a relationship with. You make me want to be a bitter man. I got a text while at boot camp. I've moved in with someone else. Think that's pretty high on the list. After dating you, I realized I was gay. Edit, I realized after all the replies this is much more common than I thought. I've found an upgrade. You're hurting my follower count. It's not you, it's me. It's not you, your sister is way hotter and we are an item now. My husband said I shouldn't see you anymore. It's not you, it's a me, Mario. What's something you don't think you'll ever do again in your life? Lining up early in the day at a concert with general admission tickets so I can get to the front row. Then never leaving that spot for the entire concert so I can hold my spot while the main act performs. Hopefully, Timo, in remission for 3 years now, still going strong. Trust the electric company to trim the oak trees in my front yard. They chopped down to mature trees and left the firewood in a giant pile in the driveway as a favor. Fuck you, Duke Progress Energy, fuck you. Feed my dog puppuccinos at Starbucks. His farts in the car after were death. Skydive, biggest rush, but once is enough. Ride a roller coaster. Y'all take care of your back, because when it goes, your life choices are reduced. What is a good show that got canceled for no good reason? Basically any Netflix series that people want to keep watching. Gotta say, Mindhunter really seemed like one of the only shows that Netflix actually dragged their feet on canceling, seeming to hope Fincher would return to it. I am not okay with this. Also, Almost Human. Travelers. Caprica. King of the Hill. Us of low ratings or controversy. But because Fox wanted to make room for the new and upcoming comedy, The Cleveland Show, that's not. A joke, by the way. That's actually the reason Koth was canceled. Fringe. Dark Matter. It was canceled right as it was becoming interesting. Freaks and Geeks. Carnival. What is the worst movie you ever watched? Poltergeist. It's a French movie where a family buy a house haunted by a gay ghost. Love on a Leash. Woman falls in love with a dog who becomes human at night. A bizarre, awful movie experience. Cool Cat Saves the Kids. The Masked to Son of the Mask. Cats the Musical. I just sat there with WTF going around in my head the entire time. Dragon Ball Evolution. Manos The Hands of Fate. I knew a guy that was trying to make a sequel. It didn't work out. He made a video dressed as the guy with deer legs. The sequel was supposed to be called Manos The Search for Valley Lodge. Birdemic. Battlefield Earth. Jesus Christ, that movie was bad. What's a food that you swear people only pretend to like? That Italian cheese that has live larvae in it. Live octopus? Does eating a creature that's actively trying to crawl out of your mouth as you eat it really taste so good that it's worth the trouble and choking hazard? Food prepared by my nephew. It always contains Play-Doh and is overly salty. Surströmming almost rotten fish might be the most disgusting food on earth. but I read somewhere that some Swedish people actually enjoy it. Once upon a time, I swore that salted licorice was the most vile thing ever to have graced our fair planet. However, about a year ago, my wife made me try some, and much to my surprise, I liked it. Similar to sugar paste on wedding cakes. Edible gold. What's the stupidest real men don't you've ever heard? A guy at work described something his daughter did as cute, and then some douche told him that men aren't supposed to call things cute. Not sure if it counts, but a young woman wouldn't sell me a Luna bar because it's made for women. I said no, it's marketed to women, but I like this flavor. She said I can't sell it to you. It has estrogen in it. We had a frustrating back and forth before I finally convinced her that I was willing to take the risk, and she sold it to me. Wear sunscreen. I've heard real men don't drink tea. Use umbrellas. What caused you to stop smoking cigarettes? Nothing. One day I decided I had enough. After that decision, I smoked on two separate occasions, and after that never touched a cigarette again. It's been 11 years. Coughing up blood in the shower. Vaping got me off cigarettes, and then nicotine patches gum got me off vaping. It's still a struggle, but so far I've held strong. Magic mushrooms made me experience my own future death. My entire body clogged up with stale gray ash until I suffocated. After that, even the thought of smoking reminded me of the ash, and I've never smoked since. The price, it's too expensive to smoke, so I quit. What would your 13-year-old self think if they saw you now? God, you're fat. Wow, you're a miserable bastard. Oh, well, I guess we didn't kill ourselves. Cool. So that's how big my boobs are going to get. Wrinkly old bastard. Are all of those guitars yours? 13-year-old me would be amazed. I genuinely thought I'd never do anything with my life. Maybe work a dead-end job and die alone. I was genuinely scared about life. The life my wife and I have built together is amazing. I would love to be able to tell that little masturbation machine that was my 13-year-old self that everything will be okay. What is a job you would not do even if you were paid $150K a month? I would eat shit naked on a skyscraper welding bombs for 1.8 meters a year. Underwater underground work. I could climb a tower for a large enough amount of money. I trust my body and my safety gear. But no amount of skill and safety can help me when I'm stuck a mile underwater underground. That's a hard question. Probably something to do with exposure to toxic chemicals in an uncontrolled environment. Anything that is an unavoidable and serious detriment to your health. Pretty much anything else, you could work for a year or two and live off the interest. Underwater ocean welding. Cave diving. Fucking nope. Mission specialist on OceanGate Titan. What's the worst response to your under arrest? No, I'm under the influence. No, I'm a sovereign citizen and you are overstepping your authority because of maritime law or something. Is this the part where you frisk me? I always love that part, haha. Thanks, you too. No, I'm Dad. Gets tased. Do you know who I am? I know you are, but what am I? For the coke or the embezzling? A nose boop. At a holy flarking snit, I had zero idea how much of a response this would get. Thank you all for the awards. Yes, Daddy. Not if I arrest you first, actually rushing and attempting to handcuff the officer. You'll never catch me alive. Copper, they'll be all too happy to prove you correct. What is the worst aspect of being a man in 2023? Social isolation if you're not really extroverted. Dating has largely switched over to dating apps in recent years over traditional methods of meeting. Unfortunately, due to how many men there are on them versus women, these apps do not favor most men. It's really hard to find support. It feels like no matter what you do, it's wrong. Talk about thoughts and insecurities. You're either not a real man or burdening someone with emotional labor. Keep it to yourself. You need to be more open. Ask for advice. This is something you should have figured out by now. Go at it alone. Why won't you let anyone help you? What was the best relationship advice you ever got? Keep in mind that you are not fighting against your ex, Oh, during conflicts. You and your SO are up against the issue. Never take each other for granted. Show appreciation often. Prioritize trust and build a strong foundation of it. I love the quote, "I don't want you to save me, but you can hold my hand while I save myself." Support with respect is key. There is no reason to keep score. You are both on the same team. If one or both of you starts keeping score with things, it is time to evaluate the state of the relationship and why this is occurring. On a related note, all problems can be solved, but not all problems are worth solving. Have you ever listened to someone talk for less than a minute and immediately felt like you wouldn't get along with them? What did they say? I already decided what to order, and sorry, not sorry if you're offended, but we're gonna eat what I'm ordering. You'll thank me for it. This was a person I was meeting for the first time. The classic one-upmanship. You tell a simple story about something that's happened to you. For example, I once completed an escape room challenge in 30 minutes. Cue ignoramus compulsive liar. Yeah, I've done that blindfolded and in half the time. I've done escape rooms abroad and I was the first one to escape. Oh, fuck off. I can tell almost immediately by the way a customer walks up to the register whether or not they're going to be an asshole. What is denied by many people, but it is actually 100 real. Majority of folks aren't playing the official and no rules. When I went to sea, I would see the occasional flying fish. It was surprising how many people thought I was pulling their leg when I told them about it. Shark attacks are extremely rare. A lie detector isn't reliable. Confirmation bias, reading into a situation what you want to see. You don't know how to fight unless you've been trained or have experience in fighting. Most people imagine themselves beating us only to have reality smash them in the nose. A lot of people even injure themselves just trying to throw punches. People largely deny responsibility for anything they contribute to. How have you almost died? Lymphoma. I just thought it was my turn to be skinny. Stage 4 cancer at age 30. They had to cut a whole bunch of bits out of me and 3 months of chemo. But cancer-free 13 years and counting. So I was a kid sunbathing in my yard. My mom's room window was on the second floor right above me. My little sister was playing around in her room for some reason. I decided I was done sunbathing. The second I got up and walked away from my spot, the in-window air conditioner unit landed on the ground right where my head was. Kayak capsized out in the ocean and dumbass me didn't have a life jacket. Tide was going out. Tread water for 3 hours and, by some miracle, a random jet skier found me. Which famous person descended from their pinnacle the quickest, hardest, and most destructively? Jared Fogle, the subway guy. The things discovered about him are quite disturbing. Prison is an appropriate place for him. Oscar Pistorius, for example, had a rather fast transition from Paralympic champion and role model to spouse killer. Bill Cosby. Aaron Hernandez played tight end for the New England Patriots, fresh off a new contract. Killed his friend, found guilty, then took his own life during the appeal. Kevin Spacey. O.J. Simpson. Matt Lauer. Armie Hammer. What really sucked as a kid, but is fucking awesome as an adult. Ace begging to go home after about 10 minutes of going over to my parents' friend's house because all they did was sit around and talk and drink. And I thought they were the most boring people on earth. Now I go over to my friend's place just to sit around and talk and drink. And it is a highlight of my week. Having absolutely nothing to do. Naps. Water. As a kid, I hated drinking water. As an adult, I can't get enough. I recently learned that it is adult swim time at my city pool that has a water slide. A rainy Saturday spent at home. Being at home. Showers. Getting spanked. Story or character-driven movies. Sweet silence. What's the fastest way you've ever seen a new coworker get fired? New guy came into work hammered out of his mind and started trying to operate a forklift right in front of the regional safety manager. A lot of forklift certified and right in front of my OSHA handbook memes were shared that day. A co-worker sent an email to a female team member that he had a dream the night before that they had gotten married and he impregnated her. She sat across from me and I literally saw her face as she read the email. A strange look came across her face. Then she walked into the manager's office. She left the office and he got called in and less than a minute later was packing his things. I believe from start to finish it took less than 5 minutes for him to send the email and get fired. What TV show did you try to get into but ultimately couldn't? I auditioned for some game show hosted by Snoop Dogg and was told at the second round of auditions that I'm just not weird enough for TV. Edit, I now realize I misunderstood OP's question. Suits, at some point I found myself thinking, I don't care about these people. I stopped watching mid-season 4. The Walking Dead, I just couldn't do it. This Is Us, halfway through season 2. I realized that I didn't care at all about any of the characters. Why am I watching this? What is a dead giveaway that someone is an only child? But when it's one of my kid's friends, the kid who ends up trying to hang out with the adults and gets overwhelmed by being in a group of kids has been an only child 100 of the time in my experience. On a more positive note, from personal experience, being secure with doing things alone. From my own experience, not being as prone to loneliness. The only time I really feel lonely is when I'm around people I'd rather not be with. I'm the only child in my family. My mom said she learns from her mistakes. What are you sick of people constantly telling you? My mother-in-law follows up every comment that she knows rubbed me the wrong way with I'm only trying to help or I'm just saying, Fuuk, that I need to eat more or exercise to grow taller. I'm 19, not 9. It's not gonna work, buddy. I'm irrelevant for life. Just stop thinking about it when I'm anxious if, oh thanks, never thought of that. Why are you so quiet? Sir, you are making a scene. I think you should leave. That I look like a child. I am over the legal drinking age in the US, but have had to people think my ID is fake recently. Because I looked 12. That's still your mother. Did you ever have a crush on that high school teacher? How did it end up? Not me personally, but had a girl openly try to flirt with our teacher. One day she was giggling and jokingly accused him of trying to look down her shirt. Holy shit, did that backfire. He immediately lost his cool and marched her straight up to the office. I cringe at the second-hand embarrassment to this day. I had a crush on my math teacher, so I took 2 classes as electives. That's at the end of the story. I am an accountant now though. It ended up her telling me to focus on my studies. After I gave her a love letter which she returned back. What is something an ex gave you that you still have? Still have a great wallet from 14 years ago. That my ex gave me? Probably the only thoughtful thing she ever did. She sewed a sweater for my childhood teddy bear because the one he originally had was lost in the laundry. And there is no way I would ever get rid of that. This birthday card, it was just very sweet and well written. We broke up on great terms, but I read that card when I'm down. PTSD. Trust issues. Thanks a lot, Nancy. Trauma. Herpes. My ex-wife was a big part of me getting off drugs and alcohol. So to me, she gave me sobriety. What's the biggest red flag you ignored? She told me every guy she dated broke up with her. I eventually found out why. He never apologized for anything. Even stuff that was 100% his fault. But my dumbass would have to apologize for everything, even stuff out of my control. My younger brother killed my pet hamster because I accidentally broke his Power Ranger he left on the floor under a blanket. He told my mom that he didn't see the hamster when he was getting up to get a drink and accidentally stepped on it. He's now 3 years into his 7-year sentence for accidentally hitting and crippling someone with his car after having an argument with them. I always just chalked it up to him being a huge dick, but now I realize he's a low-key psychopath. What food are you a bottomless pit for? Chips and salsa. Tacos, tacos, tacos. I'll eat a couple dozen and stop only from shame. Potatoes. Much like my mentor Garfield. Lasagna. Can't resist an endless supply of pizza slices. French fries. Ice cream can never get old to me for some obscure reason. That and milkshakes. My ex's mom's homemade mac and cheese. The relationship was toxic and I'm glad I got out. But man, I will forever miss that mac and cheese. Sushi. Pasta. Fruit. I love fresh fruit. Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, kiwis, oranges. Hand it all over. Chicken wings. The pile of bones after are my trophies. Reddit. What outrage over a celebrity was way overblown. The dude you're getting Adele guy being a stoner. I mean, duh. I could see that from a mile away. Not exactly a celebrity, but became one as a result 1996 Summer Olympics security guard Richard Jewell. He discovered a backpack bomb at a 1996 Summer Olympics venue in Atlanta and helped evacuate many people before it exploded. The FBI and then the media accused him of planting the bomb. HTTPSN. Michael Phelps ripping a bong. Janet Jackson's wardrobe malfunction. Howard Dean scream. He was giving a talk to motivate his campaign workers. What successful famous sitcoms you didn't find funny at all? Anything on CBS where a fat guy has a wife that's way too attractive for him. To broke girls, it was like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. Remember iCarly, but like the literal iCarly web show within the sitcom, where they would do silly stuff on camera. I always found that part kind of cringe. The rest of the show was great though. At this writing, there are over 500 posts, yet only about a half dozen answers. 60 minutes, barely a giggle. To broke girls? Anything Chuck Lorre made to and a half men, to broke girls, Big Bang, etc. All I hear is canned laughter, and once you notice that, there's not much else. Most sitcoms with a laugh track annoy me. What is the worst event in human history? Cambodian genocide under Pol Pot has to be up there. Imagine waking up one day to find your country now wants you dead because you have a high school education and a bunch of dipshits with machetes are coming for you. 70,000 BC, Mount Toba erupted, almost wiped out the human race. My parents threw a surprise party for me when I graduated high school and invited two of my exes. When that U2 album suddenly appeared on everyone's iPhone. If we're talking about loss of human life, probably the reign of Genghis Khan. Some estimates place his KD ratio as high as 60 million one. At the time of his reign, this was 10% of the human population of Earth. Jessica Biel not naming her son Batmobile. Serious men, which female characters did you look up to as a kid? Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus. Ewan Shield Maiden of Rowan. Ellen Ripley was a competent problem solver who stuck to her principles, trusted her instincts, and made the safety of everyone around her her priority. Sarah Connor was badass. Miss Frizzle and Miss Honey Matilda. Xena Warrior Princess. Loved Lucy and loved her appearance in Curb. Dana Scully and Ripley. Capt. Carter in Stargate SG-1. She's smart, beautiful, cool, under pressure. Loyal to her friends and an overall badass. When the Asgard are in trouble, they ask her for advice. Who's the most dangerous human alive right now? When I was in 8th grade, I watched my best friend's uncle rip a whole cigarette in one puff and then lift an entire transmission out of a car, so I'd prop say him. Some guy you haven't heard of because he wants it that way. Probably some guy in the middle of nowhere with an undiscovered disease that can wipe humanity out. There was this kid in elementary school I knew. He used to eat his pears with ranch and enjoyed it. My cousin Randy posts a lot of pictures on Facebook of skeletons riding motorcycles and stuff with captions about how loyal he is, but if you betray him, he can be your worst nightmare, so probably him. Shitty bots accounts that repost AskReddit threads in order to advertise their porn accounts. What is a struggle that men face that women wouldn't understand? We have little to no control over what our dicks do. An erection isn't consent or support. And flaccid isn't a sign of disinterest. If I'm too amiable with or around children, folks will assume I'm some kind of creep. Getting an erection out of nowhere and being scared someone's gonna see you and think you're a perv, even though you're not even aroused, or blood just took a wrong turn and ended up where it shouldn't. Thankfully, no one can see my erections cause it's so smooth. 'Cause I hide it very well after all these years of practice. In your opinion, what is the dumbest way to spend time? Sitting in traffic. I hate when I'm at work and I've finished all my tasks for the day or hit the quota, and my supervisor tells me to look busy. With a partner that doesn't care about you and that starts a conversation with you and forgets that you are there. Spending time worrying about what other people think of you. Doom scrolling. Doing something you don't like in your leisure time. Fuck all the other answers. Let's be real. People enjoy browsing Reddit or they wouldn't be here. If you enjoy your time, it's not a waste. People are so melodramatic on this site and self-loathing. Yesterday, I got sucked into watching casino streamers all evening. What is so ancient only an internet veteran can remember? Pictures loading one line at a time. Having a stack of magazines or something else by the computer to distract yourself while a web page loads. Signing up for a new email address and the username not already being taken. Glorious times. Chat rooms that were filled with people instead of porn bots. ICQ, Winamp skins, CDs to access internet. And the best of the best, the glorious 56K modem dialing sound. Ask Jeeves, Internet Butler. The sound of a dial-up modem does when connecting to the internet, you young punks. Personal web pages with counters. What's a type you're attracted to but too embarrassed to tell anyone? I like girls with big ears, haha, I find it cute. So many of these aren't embarrassing. Girls with big noses, I'm not quite sure why. Something about a prominent nose just adds a unique sexiness to a woman's face. Crazy enough that I think I might actually get stabbed, but not crazy enough to actually do it. I still find the early 2000s skater or in a band type look hot. Feral swamp witches that will haunt my dreams and send me increasingly disturbing visions until I crawl back begging for mercy. What's a sad truth you've come to accept? Serious. You can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they have your best interest in heart. My wife of 48 years has passed away and she is never coming back. And it about kills me. I hope that is not too serious. Life is unfair sometimes for no reason, P. Very few people in life will ever give a shit about you. My 20s were wasted because I am too scared of making my family disappointed, angry with me. I did what they wanted, but now I'm unhappy with my life. Getting older, rusty, no longer able to do things I could when I was younger due to aging. That my family did in fact hurt me and it wasn't my fault. Americans of Reddit, what places in America should foreigners avoid at all cost? Death Valley in the summer, especially if you consider yourself a strong hiker and live in a cooler climate. It has that name for a reason. Steaming acidic hot springs in Yellowstone. If you're in a national park, listen to what the caution signs say and don't venture off a pass. One is because of wildlife and the other is because humans don't need to ruin everything in nature just to get a photo. Also, don't fall into the Grand Canyon. You will die. Avoid going to one location thinking another location across the country is a short trip. What is the stupidest thing you have ever done to try to be cool? Smoke cigarettes. Wearing sunglasses indoors and at night. Not stupid, just mean and regret it. Some of the popular kids were being my friend. Or just pretending to be, I don't know. I stole one of the nice teacher's candy bars out of her cupboard. I didn't get caught, so I saw her take out the empty box and look around the room disappointed. Felt like garbage. Spilled my drink to hide that I pissed my pants. Was too cool to say I needed a bathroom. Jumped off a 76 cliff to impress a girl. It worked, but was wildly stupid. No one had jumped from the 76 spot that day and I had only heard about it from locals, so I just went for it. What sounds like complete bullshit, but is actually true. There are more tigers in captivity in the US than in the wild worldwide. Paint on a plane can add 601 pounds to the weight of the aircraft. Sharks have existed on Earth for longer than trees have. The longest manned, refueled flight in history was 64 days long. The aircraft used was a Cessna 172. Clouds weigh hundreds of thousands of pounds. Colorado has a high Buddhist population due to the CIA training Tibetan guerrilla fighters in the Rockies during the 60s to fight the Chinese communists, but then abandoning the plan. If sound could travel through space, the roar of the sun would be deafening even though it's 93 miles away. People who swallow pills without liquid, how and why, but most importantly, what the fuck? Step 1. Gather some saliva in your mouth. Step 2. Insert pills and swallow. Step 3. Enjoy. I believe 3 6 Mafia has a song about this. Makes me feel like a badass. When you suffer from severe migraines and need to get that Advil liquid gel in you ASAP, no one has time for water. Pain is a strong motivator. You get used to it if you have to swallow pills every day or need to have them working as soon as possible. For bigger pills, I create some pool of spit in my mouth because I am the throat goat. Why are you still single? I don't know. Mom G-Easy. I don't know where to meet people. I am not good at talking to new people. I am shy and I can't tell if someone is interested in me. And I don't think I'd make a good partner, so I don't try very hard. Social anxiety, self-doubt, lack of confidence. Those are probably the main factors. Edit, thank you all for the comments and the awards. You are all wonderful people and I hope things turn around for you soon. After my divorce in my 20s, women didn't want to date me because I had a daughter. In my 30s, I was too busy working, living paycheck to paycheck. Now I'm 42 and all of my days off are weekdays. Most of the people I meet while out and about are retirees. People of Reddit who have been abducted by aliens. What's your story? I suggest trying again with the serious tag. Sadly, I live in Europe. They only visit USA. They just wanted someone to explain the rules of American football. But I've never watched it and they got pissed at me for wasting their time. After the standard issue but stuff, they beamed me back. But it took like 3 hours to walk home. I used to think aliens were trying to abduct me, terrified for years. Watched a documentary on sleep paralysis and realized that was what was really happening to me. From that point on, when I had sleep paralysis, I knew what was happening and wasn't as terrified. Plus, my husband started noticing the signs and would quickly pull me out of it. What's hard for you to resist if you see it on a restaurant menu? Gyros, a French dip sandwich, tiramisu, cream brulee, tacos al pastor, jalapeno poppers, crab rangoons and enchiladas, eggs Benedict at a breakfast brunch place. Mozzarella sticks, tater tots, an appetizer sampler platter. I love apps, but don't want just one. French onion soup. What item do you add to a grilled cheese sandwich that makes it awesome? Garlic powder, crispy parmesan on the outside. I just like dipping it in tomato soup. More cheese. When I was pregnant, I ate a grilled cheese sandwich every day. I had some dill pickles with it on the side. Surprisingly delicious. Fresh tomatoes and basil. Get some butter, about 1 tablespoon, maybe 2. Add a teaspoon of minced garlic and a teaspoon of basil, mix together, and spread on bread. Toast it, and you got a garlic bread grilled cheese. You're welcome. If you suddenly had fuck you money, what would be the first thing you did? Get a permanent personal chef, so that I can eat delicious food all the time and in a relatively healthy way. Quit my job. I'm at the point I may do it anyway, honestly. I did get dental implants, so I wasn't in constant pain, didn't look like I started every day with a hearty breakfast of crack. Quit my job. It's not that it's a bad job. I actually do like it, but I don't have time for it. I would rather live my life and go on adventures. So many things to see and experience in this world and life. Buy a house in the mountains and start a farm. I just want peace. I've been stuck in fight or flight mode most of my life. What's the best example of it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it that you know of? The backlash on Will Smith for the slap. How about that lady who tweeted something racist right before a flight and by the time it landed, She was canceled and fired from her executive job. That took 5 seconds, not 5 minutes. It's got to be a record. Edit, here's the link. Serious, what's something that happened to you that sounds made up, but isn't? I went blind in one of my eyes overnight my senior year in high school. My parents thought I was joking when I told them. Spent majority of that year at the Wilmer Eye Institute. I had a 1 in 1 billion eye disease. When I was in elementary school, my brother and I were walking home with my friend. I kept tapping him on the shoulder from behind, that little prank where you tap the right shoulder and move to the left, pretending you didn't do anything. After a few taps, he told me to stop. No joke, right after that, a squirrel fell from a tree and hit his shoulder. He got so upset and thought I did it again. My brother and I could never convince him that it was a squirrel. Your username is now your full-time job life. How screwed are you? I'm toast. Got a bright future ahead of me. My life just got cooler. I'm getting pretty screwed. I'ma just be chilling in the produce section. You know, pathetically. I'll tell you what, I'm never going down to see the Titanic anytime soon. Meh. I'm doing all right. Probably should do some therapy instead of self-medicating. But it's lonely out in space. No therapists. Space ain't the kind of place to raise a kid. In fact, it's cold as hell. And there's no one here to raise them if you did. I don't know, you tell me. If one of your friends had an I know a guy moment and then called you, what would they be calling you for? Bird identification happens weirdly often. Update, several people here have messaged me photos of birds to ID. Y'all are too cute. Sadly, probably for tax advice. I'm an accountant, but I'm not a tax accountant. But I am pretty handy with Google and the IRS website, so it still generally works out. I am unusually good at selecting really thoughtful gifts with minimal information about the recipient. I was a tech genius to my grandma before she passed. I have a pickup truck and I'm happy to help people move stuff with it. What's the biggest difference between you now and 10 years ago? I had cancer 10 years ago. Cancer-free now. I'm far more sure of who I am nowadays. I don't get crippling social anxiety like I used to back then. I weigh 1/3 what I weighed back then, 0.585 pounds down to 196 now. Before-after photos in healthy eating now Reddit. I'm no longer trying to please people by being like them. I'm finally setting boundaries and pursuing my own passions, meeting new people and enjoying life as it's found. I'm 6 years sober. 0.10 years ago, I was a mess. I learned how to speak English. I now breathe with someone else's lungs. You accidentally left your cocaine at the White House. What do you do now? Head to the Winchester, grab a pint, and wait for this whole thing to blow over. Don't bring it up to anyone. Pretend it never happened. Ask Reddit what they would do. Wonder why the hell I was at the White House? Nice try, FBI. Start full-blown investigation into whose cocaine this might be. Wipes nose. You move on, man, because it's gone now, just gone. Someone out there has the greatest I did cocaine at the White House story ever. I did not have sexual nasal relations with that woman powder. Ask for it back. Clearly, no repercussions are going to happen at this point, so might as well. What are some shows you refuse to watch and why? 500 channels, and nothing worth watching. It's a vast wasteland. Reality shows mostly. 13 reasons why recommended by my best friend, whose pitch was I bawled my eyes out and then I felt used up and empty. Nah. I have plenty of my own neuroses and anxiety. I don't need the added stress. Anything Kardashian, no explanation necessary. Sister Wives, I refuse to even be in the room if it was on. It's such garbage. Why don't pregnancy test advertisements depict a relieved young woman's reaction to a not pregnant result? I've seen them in the US. I think Clearblue. A college girl in her dorm and waiting, then it says digitally not pregnant. She is happy. Commercial ends advertising accurate results. May be wrong on the test brand, but I saw it last week on T.V. Because someone wanting to be pregnant and finding out they are is the safe option. And when you're trying to sell something, you usually want to pick the safe option. Some of them do. Here's one. Damn, I wasted money on this test and I wasn't even pregnant. Because associating a consumer product with tense or stressful situations is rarely a good marketing tool. Adults of Reddit, what is something every teenager should know about the real world? People lie. Just because they're an adult doesn't mean they always tell the truth. Life never settles down. If something is important to you, then you should get to it ASAP. $1,000 is a lot to owe, but not a lot to have. For better or for worse, confidence opens as many doors as competence. Everything is expensive when you move out. You know how sometimes you think to yourself, when I'm an adult and have my own place, I'll be able to do whatever I want. Make sure whatever you want includes doing the dishes. Comparison is the thief of joy. During high school, learning how to learn is more important than anything you're actually learning. What's the worst food to get hit by in a food fight? Durian fruit. Either you're going to get knocked out by a giant, spiky watermelon thing, or it's going to explode on you and you'll smell like death, probably making you and everyone around you vomit. In 7th grade, my friends and I decided to have one. We set a date a few weeks in advance and code-named it the tea party. I guess some teachers found out, because on the day of the tea party, there were way more lunch monitors than usual. My friends and I looked around, wondering if we should start it, and how. When this girl a few tables over threw her mashed potatoes and yelled food fight. Nothing happened and she was taken to the principal's office. What two rich people have now that everyone will have in 5-10 years? Peptides, stem cells and gene therapies. Addictions to substances we haven't heard of yet. A lot more money that's worth a lot less. Any new 2023 car they are buying now, I will buy it as used 2023 car in 5 years. Definitely not submersible submarines. For cars, look at what new features the Mercedes-Benz S550 is offering. The new features on the 550 usually end up on less expensive cars 10 to 15 years later. Think adaptive cruise control and the like. Ozempic. Hand-carved poop knives? There was a time when chocolate and pineapple had this kind of status. Electric cars. Dear Reddit, what is the worst thing you have said during a breakup? Her is it someone else? Me no. It's just you. The worst is telling someone you don't love them anymore and genuinely seeing the heartbreak on their face. That's a gut-wrenching thing to see when you know your words caused it. 2 months after our breakup, she asked me if I missed her. I told her I missed her parents more than I missed her. The breakup wasn't my choice, but when he tried a few weeks later to reconnect, I said, oh, I've actually been really happy since we've been apart. I don't think I could get back together now. My sister called me savage for it, but I wasn't trying to be mean. It was the truth. And I just hadn't realized it up until the thought of taking him back filled me with dread. What terrifying event is happening in the world right now that most people are ignoring? The birds are disappearing, most likely because the bugs are, too. Here in the UK, water companies have been dumping tons and tons of sewage into our river systems and into the sea, making some beaches close. It is truly disgusting, and the whole water industry is in about £60 billion of debt and could collapse. The seals dying of avian flu in Chile. My country is on fire. It was also on fire a month ago, but then it stopped for a few weeks. What's an addiction that people often overlook? Shopping. News addiction. Outrage is an addiction. Some people seek it out, actively searching for a reason to hate their neighbors just so they can get their hit of dopamine. It feeds news addiction, tribalism, and eventually extremism. It's the source of so much violence, so many divided houses and ruined lives, but we do nothing to curb it. Phone addiction, no explanation needed. Which cult classic film was a huge disappointment when you finally saw it? People in the comments don't quite get what cult classic means. Also, my answer is Showgirls. Awful movie. Terria being a cult classic is not being that great of a movie. but overall just being enjoyable to a certain group of people. Hence the cult following and approval of the film's respective fans. So yeah, it's kind of obvious some people aren't going to like it. Most stoner comedies don't really make me laugh, and I don't see the appeal. ITT, a lot of people don't know what a cult classic is. The Room, so bad it's good, but still bad. What will millennials be blamed for in 50 years? YouTube and TikTok families. Maybe a rampage of stolen identities, because how many parents currently share their children? Information online. For raising their babies with tablets and internet. Collapse of digital privacy? You didn't stop Skynet. We had a whole movie franchise about it shakes fist angrily at AI. Being robophobes? No, I don't respect your relationship with an AI bot. Open concept houses with gray beige taupe everything, sharp edges, and vessel sinks. The rise of AI, also basically everything that will be wrong at that time. Painting over hardwood trim, cabinets, etc.